Welcome everybody to another episode of Command Combat Computer Reports. With me today is Troy.
Hello, hello.
And you can see we are doing Napoleon Total War. We have the British versus Austria in the desert. And yeah, it's sort of, I guess, unusual, but it's apparently Egypt or something like that where they're fighting. Oh, there are the pyramids! Maybe we can go there and watch ancient Egypt. Anyway, what do we got here? On the British side, we got an iron pounder, what is that? Foot artillery. We got some rifles backed up by a bunch of foot infantry with the 42nd Foot Black Watch back there. They are Scotsmen here. But of course they're no longer part of the British Empire anymore, so we won't pay attention to that. We have a 5-inch howitzer, Major General Picton, and lifeguards in case somebody gets, drowning in this, all this water. Light dragoons over on the flank, and 6-pounder horse artillery. Over on the Austrian side, they have a big hill here. It looks like a whole line of artillery. 3 batteries of 6-pounder artilleries, a bunch of Hungarian Fusiliers in a line, general staff back there, some dragoons, and Uhlans. Oh, both of them in a diamond formation, so it looks like they are prepared to charge. And yeah, they have this hill over here, so they have a pretty impenetrable position, so they'll probably just be standing. In fact, actually, you can see the infantry is on the backside of the hill. So they're not expecting to go out there. They're probably just back there so they don't get hit by artillery, and probably going to see an artillery duel here.
Well, I tell you, with the very open line of sight, I have a feeling going into this that it's the competitor that makes the quickest and most effective maneuvering decisions that may end up having the advantage, Jeff.
I'd agree, actually. I think, you look at positions like this, and you see a hill that's like this, and the first thought I have usually is, oh, they're in an impenetrable position, they have the advantage, etc., etc. But sometimes you can have such a good position that you take it for granted, and you don't think about what the alternative is. You don't think about what the maneuvers can be, and you end up giving up the initiative to the other side. And so I would say this, and especially with the fact that Austria is not moving, and you can see Britain moving some down there, I think this is going to be one of those times where Britain takes the initiative, and it's more of a puzzle of how are they going to crack this nut. And they're starting by putting some of their own artillery up here on this hill. I'm not sure if they're in range, but it doesn't look like they are, because otherwise they'd be firing. They're all just standing there. Or maybe it's just wavering too much way in the distance. That's the heat waves. They are pushing their rifles forward, but that is not very much in terms of rifles, and of course their infantry is way back here. Then they're behind a hill, you can tell, because, of course, even if they're in range, the artillery can't fire at them, but it doesn't look like they are, because even the here's the 6-pounders, and their 6-pounders up there, clearly they're not in range, they're not firing at each other. Oh, so you've got sort of an L shape of their light dragoons. I'm not quite sure what the British are doing with their cavalry, because, of course, battles like this oftentimes wind up being cavalry and or artillery, because it's just too much open terrain for the infantry. Now, am I mistaken here? It seemed like the Brits had cavalry on both flanks, but now it looks like they're putting it all on this side, so maybe we're going to see a movement, you think?
Yeah, I think they're getting ready to stage. At this moment, I would say they have a game plan in mind. They may be a little bit hesitant about it, given kind of the tepid way that they're approaching the staging at the moment.
And we see some fire going on up here. It looks like maybe the rifles have perhaps gotten into range, although they're below that hill and they're kneeling down, so they are not going to get hit by anything. Maybe that would be actually a good thing for them to do, is to draw that fire out and maybe make the Austrian artillery use up all their ammo. And whoever's camping here is kind of screwed. By the way, in case the cavalry does come into play, it looks like they're starting to move. You can tell which one is light and heavy by when they have this filled in white there. That means they're heavy cav. When they have the outlined ones, that means they're light. So they're coming forward. The British are coming forward with 2 lights and 1 heavy.
If I'm the British right now, I'm trying to be very, very careful in monitoring how close I'm allowing my men to stray towards the Austrians. At this point, before you get into position for a good flanking or rear maneuver on the Austrians, my biggest concern, I think, at the moment would be straying into range of those cannons.
I think so too. I think it's probably why they're moving slowly and not running. Now notice they've actually started to pull up their artillery here. Their horse artillery, which can be run, can be done fast, and it looks like they're leaving one of them behind, so they're going to lose one of their pieces of artillery. It was probably hit by a long-range artillery shell of the enemy. And it's a 6-pounder, so it should, so essentially they're the same range as the ones up there, so they actually, if whatever they do there will be also fired on by the enemy. So it looks like they're going to go up there with the cavalry, and they're slowly making their way up through the woods.
Now, Jeff, I am curious, would you be more inclined to do a mad rush towards the Austrians or try and do a phased-in approach and hope that you catch them off guard?
I tend to be more cautious. I'm a big defense player. I'm the kind of person who usually, unfortunately, would be caught up there. I can tell you that the lesson I learned about staying back and holding back and being attacked from all the different directions, that comes from personal experience. There are a lot of times where I got comfortable where I was and my opponent came up and hit me from a lot of places. I've learned my lesson, but I do make that mistake from time to time. As the attacker, though, I'd probably first be, turtling back, holding back, trying to hit them from range, and then when I found that didn't work, I would do whatever I could to try to go far around the sides and avoid that artillery, which is basically what they're doing. I mean, cavalry usually, you want to be out in the open, but it looks like here they're going in the woods where they're not usually as strong, but also that way they're not going to get hit by their artillery. They're probably out of sight of them, and they have this nice hill in the way. And if they go far enough around, I mean, look at the artillery here is all perfectly lined up to come from the front, but if they come from the side, rather than having 3 batteries of artillery, they're going to have just the ones facing. And now it looks like they're bringing out that cavalry that was in the diamond formations you remember. They have 2 heavy cav and 1 light. So they would be outnumbering, or they'd be outgunning the British cav. However, they're splitting it. They have the heavy cav here going after, looks like maybe these guys, or they're going to go around it, I'm not quite sure. But the British rifles are going to be cautious and pull back. Well, meanwhile, the other 2 are going over here.
They might have hoped that they were going to catch the British unaware, that the British commander would be so focused on his flanking maneuver that he's trying to set up that he would forget about his infantry, but that doesn't appear to have worked for them. Now it'll be interesting to see how committed the Austrians are to this initial attack.
It looks like they've stopped, and meanwhile the British have pulled up here. They must have run that artillery while we weren't looking, because they're up there very quickly, and their cavalry, they kind of got stuck over here. They're a little bit, this would be probably the best time for the Austrians to attack, because they're all kind of clumped up. But they are on the hill, on the flank. The Austrians clearly know about it, and apparently they're getting hit by some long-range artillery here, because their morale, you can see that orange thing on the top, is the morale, and you can see some of the results of them being dead there. Oh, yeah, you can see their artillery, so yeah, they're getting hit. So they're going to run over here with these guys.
I find it interesting, they're attacking that one separate unit of heavy cavalry, and not going for the large cluster. Well, now they're going to make it a real easy target for them all together.
Yeah, well, I think before it was the artillery from over there, but now, of course, that horse artillery is set up. That's the good thing about horse artillery. You can really rush it up there. And so apparently they've gotten into place, run up there very quickly, and now they are...
That was a nasty hit right there.
Yeah, they are getting that cavalry.
The Austrians actually, in my opinion, are a little bit lucky. The British commander doesn't quite have his artillery on point. If he had done a little bit of better job right there when he first started firing, I think it would be pretty devastating.
Yeah, well, that can be the disadvantage of horse cav too, is that it's oftentimes a little lighter than usual. So, but look at that, now they are getting them as they're coming up, but the Austrians have enough, they may be able to hit them, they are hitting with everything. It's going to be 2 heavies and a light, and their commander is coming up, so they're going to be able to add to the morale. The British may not have enough, they're just bringing in 2 lights, but they're going to have 2 lights on 1 for a little while here. Let's see how it goes. Oh, now they're just bringing in everything. Oh, and there's, you see the stars there. That's the commander's influence. So he is keeping the morale up for the Austrians. The British morale is already going down. Why wouldn't it be? You have 2 lights against 2 heavies and a light. What else have they got? Oh, but they now have canister coming in from the artillery, and their heavies are coming in from the flank. That could be a little bit of an advantage as well. You have the Austrian commanders going around. Oh no, they're Uhlans. That's a light cavalry unit. Has come out of that combat and out of the melee, and they are now coming up after the artillery, which is firing off their canister, and they scare them away. The Uhlans have been scared away, so the artillery is in place and continuing to fire. Oh, and now that one of the heavy Austrians is breaking, and the other one is really surrounded, and now you have some British that are open. Now it's the British heavies versus Austrian heavies. The Austrian heavies trying to get out of there, and the light British are coming out after the commander.
Well, this is turning into an unmitigated disaster for the Austrians. Although my one critique of the British commander here is that when he brought that light cavalry up around to join the fray, I personally think I would have taken a bigger swing around and actually come at the side and really pinched the Austrians' heavy cavalry.
Although look at this, his commander is now surrounded. He has nowhere to go. And it looks like they're just trying to get out of there, and they are retreating. They are done. The commander's done, and the Austrian cavalry, they still have a little bit of it there. Some artillery's coming in. I'm not sure whose artillery that is. And it looks like the end of the Austrian cavalry. They are done for. Now you still have all 3. Wow, the British still have all 3 of their cavalry commanders there. And they're going to try to do something. Oh, their artillery is still coming in. Doing a little friendly fire there. And now they're just going to go ahead and go after the Austrians there. They feel like they have enough power to do it.
Well, if this light cavalry can take out the Austrians' artillery to any degree, I will call it right now and say it's pretty much all she wrote for the Austrians.
That really was, because that really is their one strong point, is that majorly strong position of their artillery up there on that hill.
Now the Austrians are moving to...
Oh, it looks like they're starting to move their artillery. Oh, no, they just turned it towards them. Oh, and the infantry is starting to move up. And that is one problem. The cavalry just really is not going to be able to do much against the infantry, and you can see by their morale. Their morale went way down. They did not like the look of all that infantry coming at them. So they are pulling back. So let's look at the whole overall board. You can actually see it on the top right there, but essentially you got the British cavalry up there on the top right, the Austrian infantry and artillery up there on the very top. The British have some horse artillery up there, and they're starting to move their infantry up under this lip here. So it looks like they're going to go ahead and try to make a push for that, but hey, that Austrian artillery is still up there. That's going to be a really, really hard nut to crack still.
I'm really questioning at this point the Austrian commander's decision to move away from the nice defensible position he started with and engage the British forces so far away from his position.
Yeah, you mean with the cavalry?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where initially the look of it looked like a good idea, but seeing where it went, you know, well, you're right, they did kind of go out, but he did have a smart decision to send out the commander with it. I think really would say, because it looked like they were going to beat the British, you know, but what really did it was that artillery canister fire can really screw you up. I think what they needed to do was what you were suggesting, swing further around and put the British cavalry between them and that artillery so that they couldn't do anything. But instead, because they were to the side, I think that canister fire was able to take them out.
And that was a very nice job by the British on that canister fire. It looked for a moment there like they were going to get the worst of it, and they turned it into a rout.
Yeah, that was a really, you know, oh, hey, and it looks like they are moving their horse artillery further up the flank, keeping the cavalry up there in front of them to screen their movement. We'll have to see if this works, but if it works, they've got a full enfilade on those on that Austrian, the Austrian infantry and artillery. And I also saw some of their artillery moving, the British artillery moving down further below, so...
And we have, as of yet, I don't think we've seen the Austrians make any attempt to rearrange their artillery.
Nope. And I think the thing, their theory is they really believe that British infantry... Oh, there we go, now they're starting to move their artillery. But that can move very, very slow. Sometimes the artillery can move slow. But I think they really believe that British infantry is going to make that move. And they're keeping themselves ready, and they have the infantry ready for them, although they now have moved to intercept the threat of the cavalry. It's like I say, this is a mistake I used to oftentimes make. I would get myself comfortable in a position, set up, and be there ready. Oh, it looks like the British horse artillery is beginning to fire. And that can be a mistake. When you don't take the initiative, you can have such a good position that you rely completely on it, and you get lulled into just staying where you are and not maneuvering like you need to. And that can be your downfall. So they're moving the artillery into position. The infantry is getting out of there because they're not doing any good and they're just being targets. The British infantry looks like they are staying put still because they know that the artillery is there. They're probably going to try to get rid of some of that artillery before they move up.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the Austrians have waited too long to limber up their artillery and move some in position on their flank there.
Oh, I have to point out one thing real quick. Notice the one guy, he's a slacker. Wait for me, guys! Wait for me! I'm coming! Wait, okay, I guess I'll just do it. He's just going to walk out there himself in the lead. Anyway, I'm sorry, you were saying?
Well, I think the Austrians' artillery looked like it may have just taken a couple hits.
Oh yes, I guess I should look at that. I was just so fascinated by that one guy who was like, I'm going to take him on myself. Oh!
Ooh.
And here comes some light British cavalry coming up to gobble up that artillery.
See, the Austrians have just, now that they have lost essentially all of their own cavalry, they're up, man.
Yeah.
They had no way to counter that.
They didn't. They tried to bring up their infantry, and when your infantry is on the move, it's not going to be firing. This is not World War II. This is muskets, and so you can't be moving and firing. So while they were moving into position, that cavalry was able to come up, gobble up that artillery, and get out of there. It was a nice little raid. And now, it looks like with the infantry, either they're going to run to the enemy or they're going to get the spot, which might be their best move, because they'll be a little closer, but they'll be in this little dip away from the that artillery that just keeps hitting them. That's a boat, isn't it? This must have used to be a lake.
Well, there is a river near.
Is there? Oh,
Yeah.
That's true. The little thing called the Nile.
Ah, so that's what it looks like.
Yeah, this is like the LA River. This is what it looks like in LA, folks. A wonderful drought. Ooh. It looks like firing is going on down here. It looks like the 6-pounders are firing down here. Maybe they're moving out. Nope, they're still staying in that little ravine there. It looks like they're moving around. Maybe they're getting. It looks like they're getting some artillery into place, trying to get into range. They're going to try to maybe hit the Austrian from several different angles, maybe. And of course, yeah, you got the Austrians in that bowl, just like I was predicting. But are they going to come out and face that artillery? That might be difficult for them, especially with all that cavalry still in the way.
Yeah, that little bowl there, what apparently was something of an oasis. If there was a defensive maneuver they could have made earlier, would be to take advantage of that. I think if it were me, Jeff, I would have moved some artillery into that and right up to the facing ridge of that bowl.
And yeah, fire at the flank.
Right.
Yeah, that might have been a good move. Now, actually, it looks like, because you got the horse artillery now firing on them in the ravine, but that actually might just run the British out of ammo. That might not be a good move on the British part, because of the fact that, you know,
taking pot shots at a target that really isn't likely to be hit.
Yeah, and they're away from their supplies. Oh, but they're going to be on the move again. This artillery, this horse artillery, has really been maneuvering a lot in this game.
Well, and here's the thing: now that the infantry has found that bowl, that oasis, the British really ultimately are not going to have any choice but to run right at it.
Yeah, that's true. And that's one thing, though, is cavalry versus infantry. Usually the infantry wins. So that might not go good for the British. This could turn around if the British make a mistake. Looks like they're bringing somebody up. Oh, it's their general. General Picton is coming up to help the cavalry. So that's probably a sign that they're going to try to make an attack from the flank. However, this is interesting. They're moving more towards the front. They're moving their light cavalry and their horse artillery to the front, leaving the heavy cavalry maybe in the back, maybe to make a maneuver from there. Or sometimes, this is sometimes a good move that someone will do, is they'll leave that as a threat, forcing their opponent to counter with something a little bit stronger, so as to make them have to have more there. I keep getting distracted because it's all these cannonballs are flying every which way, and trying to figure out where they're coming from, who they're firing at.
Well, in my mind, the heavy cavalry, I would be leaving it there to essentially pin down the infantry in that little kind of bowl area.
Yeah.
And by de facto...
And I think that's what they were doing, but they're on the move.
The Austrians have decided what the heck.
Yeah.
And are charging that position there on the British. And see, now what's going to happen is that heavy cavalry is going to come straight in.
Yeah.
And not to mention the cannons. If the infantry can move fast enough, maybe they can reach those cannons.
I think they're trying to guard with one, so okay, one will break. Oh, and now they're concentrating their artillery fire on
the Austrians are why are the Austrians?
Oh, they're stopping the fire apparently. Oh, and because they're going to square, that's why.
Okay.
And that will hurt the British cavalry. And yeah, well, the cavalry is hitting one that didn't get in square is now routing, but the one who's in square has protected himself and is stopped. In fact, actually, if they scared, well, no, but here's the problem: when you're in square, artillery is just devastating to you.
Yeah.
So they're kind of caught between the devil and the deep blue sea here. Or they're hitting horses in the butts. That's not a very good thing for the British. But at least they're shooting every direction.
And I don't know what the heavy cavalry is doing there.
Oh, you know what I bet it is? The artillery was firing that direction, and they're like, you know what? We don't want to get hit by our own fire here. Let's get out of the way.
That would make perfect sense.
And this is
very practical.
You know, this is one of the best positions you can be in. Have cavalry right there and ready with artillery firing. So this way, they stay in square, the artillery rips them apart. They come out of square, the cavalry rips them apart. They just really didn't have a choice. But look at that, they're bringing everything over here. They're going to try to come after the British on this side. They're just going to put everything onto this.
But again, they're maneuvering directly into the range, into the line of sight of the British artillery. And I think if you're going to do this, you have to do it in a way that you force that British commander to make a decision to either maintain the artillery aimed in the same direction or to limber up and move it.
Yep. Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think it's just too great of a distance for infantry here. Now, you do see that they're concentrating their artillery fire over here, but I don't think they maneuvered their artillery enough to bring it to bear. You can see that the British artillery is coming out. Now they've got everything in range, including their howitzers, and they're bringing their artillery here. It just isn't enough. However, they are starting to pick off the British artillery, and they have silenced the horse artillery. Well, although one crew is going in there to try to man one single gun. They are making... Ooh, and they're getting... Oh, yeah, and that's from that artillery that moved. Remember when we saw the British beginning to move their artillery? Yeah. They moved up that hill, and now they're bringing their infantry up there. The Austrian infantry is hurt enough that they might be able to take them on. And look at that, there's the British howitzers are now beginning to pummel the Austrian artillery. They may just send them away. Now they're getting hit by. Now the Austrians are getting hit by artillery and by rifle fire. These.
Now in the back, you see the British
making a move. Yeah, it looks like, what is this? This is light cavalry making a run right next to. Oh well, these guys. Okay, some weakened infantry. It might be just enough. Yep, it's going to be enough. You can see that they're the Austrian infantry. Yep, they break. And now there's going to be nothing between them and the artillery. What happened to their heavy cavalry?
Our men are running, sir.
Oh, they broke too. So, okay, so those cannons are secure. So now you're going to have the infantry versus the infantry. It looks like the Austrians are just not in a very good position. Look at that. They're kind of mixed up. They're going to try to get into a position here. They're lining up.
and they're going to just almost get surrounded here by the British.
Yeah, let's see. Is there some behind them at the moment? Not really, but they do have the... oh, there you go. Yeah, you're right. Oh, and now they're bringing in the howitzers. They're just breaking up their lines. And the firing is coming in, but there's just so much from the British. And the British cavalry is coming around behind them. And here they come in. Oh, they're in the square just in time. Some of the British cavalrymen go in there anyway and get captured, looks like, while the rest pull back. But now that is going to be bad for the Austrians getting hit by artillery. Oh, but they've learned... oh, there we go. They're staying in square, and they're getting hit by that artillery. That is just the worst position to be in when you have to choose between cavalry and artillery, because either way, you're just going to get hit. And now it looks like Major General Picton is just going to go in there, too. Oh, no, he's going to just go right past them.
Our general is under attack.
Oh, that scared the Ottomans enough. I guess Picton is that ugly. Scared them away. And, oh, look at that hit. That was from that,
wow.
that 6-pounder. That really put a hole in them. But they need a lot of those, and it looks like the cavalry is finally going to make their move on the artillery. Oh, it looks like Picton suddenly realized he's not a cavalry officer, or he's not a cavalry unit. He is a general, so he's getting out of there, just making his circle around the Austrian infantry. And here comes the cavalry.
This is pretty much all she wrote, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I'd say the Austrians really, yeah, they're just going to be able to walk right through all that artillery there. Is their infantry going to be able to do anything? It's these two guys all on their own now, and it looks like even Picton's, oh, no, and there you go. You have your one last unit left. That's going to be it. Well, that was a really good one. Well, oh, no, here we go. We still have a little bit more. I was about to call it a quits, but there's one unit. I don't know. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna say, you know, these guys are gonna stand tall. They got the high ground. They can do it. They can hold off against the British. No, they're kind of walking away. They're like, you know what? Get a little higher here. All right. Well, I guess this is the last round. So we'll watch the kill as we kind of draw out a bit here. Well, thank you all for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Watch many of our videos. We've been doing a lot of Total War lately, and from me and Troy up here, thanks for watching, and happy gaming, everybody.
At what point does the call
When everybody's in retreat or killed. I guess I may have called a little early here. Oh, we got the one guy. This is that one guy I was named before. He's gonna fight on his own. Oh no, maybe not. He's gonna run on his own. Oh, maybe he'll join this unit. It's like I'm joining the British now. Okay, guys. He's an independent spirit. I saw the cavalry slowly creeping up behind them. I'll get a good long shot here. Long shot where you can see the pyramids. Where are these cavalry going?
Glorious victory, sir, is soon to be yours.
Gee, you think? Ooh, did you see that hit?
Ooh, right down the middle.
Strike!